The Scale Objects command allows you to change the actual size of geometry within a file, be it objects that you've drawn or imported. This is not the same as changing the scale of a design layer, which does not actually change the real size of objects on that layer. Scale Objects, found under the Modify menu, is capable of a number of different scaling types. The first and simplest of the scaling modes is Symmetric, which scales objects evenly in X and Y for 2D objects, or X, Y, and Z for 3D objects. So for example, if a 1 cm cube is scaled by a factor of 3, the scaled result will be a 3 cm cube. If we scale this same cube again by 3, it will be 9 centimeters. This scaling will all take place relative to the center of the selection. However, this command also scales the distances between objects. So if we scaled two 1 cm cubes that were 1 cm apart by a factor of 5, the cubes would then be 5 centimeters to a side, but the space between the two would be scaled as well, so that they would also be 5 centimeters apart. The next option, Symmetric by distance, is arguably the most used. In this example, we have an imported image that comes in about the size of a piece of paper. Since we know that the width of one of these doors is 91 centimeters, Vectorworks can automatically determine for you the proper scaling factor to bring this image up to a usable size. To use this mode, you can either type in the current distance if you know it, or more likely, click the dimension icon to the right, so that you can measure it out right on the design layer. Click this button, then the dialog will temporarily disappear. Then, click once on both ends of a known distance, in this case, the width of a particular door. No matter what the current distance reads, we know we want it to end up at 91 centimeters, so we'll enter that in the new distance box. Since we only want to scale this one image and there is no text included, we'll uncheck Scale Text and Entire Drawing at the bottom. The image will be resized, and if we check it with the tape measure tool, we can see it now measures as expected. If it had been slightly off, we could repeat the same set of actions to further refine the scaling. Asymmetric works the same as Symmetric, letting you manually enter a scale factor, except it allows you to separate X and Y. This mode only works on 2D geometry. 3D objects and hybrid or 3D symbols will not obey this mode. Scale text is simple. If you have text objects selected, this allows you to include or disclude them from the scaling action. Generally, readable text would be stored in the annotations on a sheet layer, so this would not likely be done commonly unless you were importing a DWG or other file format that included text objects. This has no effect on the text within an image or PDF. The most important thing to remember about the Scale Objects command is that it is expecting selected objects before you run it. If you do not select any object and then run the command, you will by default scale objects in your entire document, which is only to be done if you're absolutely sure that's what you want. If you have objects selected before running the command, you will then be able to change the option for entire drawing at will. Normally, this should be left unchecked.